Welcome to Joy the Hang. I'm your host, Sharon Stevenson. Today, we're diving into the deeper side of success, the kind that can't be measured in dollars or titles, but in peace, purpose, and alignment. My guest, Jessica Rueger, helps visionary leaders create a life of freedom, fulfillment, and success that money alone cannot buy. Through her work in divine embodiment, energetic alignment, and conscious creation, Jessica guides her clients to live what she calls an exquisite life, one rooted in presence, passion, and soul level clarity. If you've ever felt like you were doing all the right things, but still searching for something more, this conversation will help you reconnect with the energy behind true joy and abundance, the kind that starts within. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. I love this. I've been talking to a lot of people lately about energy work and the connection, which is my jam 100%. So I'm excited to dive into this and see how you do things a little differently.
Me too. Me too. I'm excited to see what comes through today.
I know. Okay, so take us back to the beginning. What inspired you to shift from traditional measures of success to guiding people toward energetic alignment and embodiment?
Well, I've been in relationships where seemingly outer measures of success were quite abundant, and it never seemed to really give me that sense of fulfillment. There was always a need for something more. And when I started to make money, like real money, that was something that I always wanted to do on my own and be able to do that. And I started to make it. It was coming in really quickly and it was really exciting. And I noticed that a lot of the times I was spending shopping and looking for more and it wasn't giving me this sense of fulfillment. It seemed like my ego was still very much seduced by it all, if you will. And so the money was exciting. And then I started to get scared, like what's going to happen? I have everything I want materially. And right when that thought came in, I started to shift my focus. And then I started to notice that I was creating very differently and I was creating more scarcity. I was creating more doubt. I was creating more worry. And so the money started to fall away and a lot of things were shifting really quickly. And what that taught me is that it wasn't about the money. It was about me being able to find peace within myself, no matter what my bank account reflected back to me, which brought up a lot of shame in the beginning. So I had to look at all of that with so much generosity and so much love and compassion and self-respect.
And I think people would be surprised by that, right? I mean, it goes back to that old saying, money can't buy happiness.
Yeah, and it's true. And I didn't believe it. There's a lot of things I didn't believe until I experienced them, throughout my life. I thought I had to have a Mercedes. I once manifested a Mercedes from a Volkswagen Cabrio and I got the Mercedes and I was still the same person.
Well, I love that you're sharing that story because it's not just money. I find that that can apply to several areas of our lives, right? I mean, once you lose the weight, it's still not enough sometimes. Some people that are in that mindset of, I can keep losing more and more. Once you get to that place of, I'm still not good, because it's not about the weight. It's not about the money. It's not about whatever. It's always something deeper, right?
Absolutely. I was probably the most insecure when I was in the best shape of my life.
So true. Same. I mean, I feel like, you constantly, I was in bodybuilding for a little while and it's like, oh my gosh, my body fat numbers aren't low enough to be on stage. I'm beating myself up, but yet I looked better than I've ever looked and I was in my 50s. Right. And so it's like, okay, when is good enough, good enough?
What exactly? What is this all about anyway? This isn't working the way we were told it would.
Yeah, I love that story. That's amazing. So you talk about creating a life that money alone cannot buy. What does that mean for you personally? And what was the moment you realized you were living it? A
What a
little bit.
great question. It's sort of sprung on me one day when I had this incredible joy emanating from inside of me. I felt so much peace, so much calm, so much connection, so much love, and nothing outside of me had changed. Nothing outside of me gave me a reason for that, which was always what I was searching for. It was like, I'm happy because I'm in love because, and so it was this moment where I just was almost like to tears that there was nothing outside of me to prove any of this. In fact, my bank account wasn't doing anything to reflect it. I had, I'm divorced. I've been single for 4 years by choice, and my business wasn't blossoming and booming. Like there was just nothing external to show me. It was just this realization that, wow, this is what it's about. This is what it's about.
So what brought about that moment? I wanna understand that, like, aha for you.
I was sitting here by myself, and it was just an energetic feeling that was emanating from within me. And I was looking around and I started to see everything that I had and how much I appreciated it. And how much there's just this overwhelming sense of appreciation, I think is the thing that really showed me. I was like, oh my gosh, look at all that I do have. It was like the scarcity had disappeared, but there was nothing saying, look, you have $100,000. There's no scarcity or what have you. So I think it was a combination of things. I've been holding myself to a certain standard in my coaching, regardless of what it was looking like behind the scenes. I was showing up at a new standard for myself, for my children, in my friend groups, with my ex-husband. So I was committed to this. And then it felt like I'd been doing it and doing it and doing it, and no external results were proving that it was working. And it wasn't an external result. It was that inner clarity of, wow, this is what it's about. I don't know if that gives you a specificity that you're looking for, but it wasn't like this thing that happened. It was an awareness.
It was just a mindset shift that just kind of came upon you, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden yeah.
The best I can describe it is it's this cumulative effect that
Okay.
happens. And if we're looking for the external results, then we're still striving, we're still hunting, we're still waiting. And I think what happened was this spontaneous sense of surrender without having it to be hard. Like I knew I could surrender in grief. I knew I could surrender when everything looked like it wasn't working and it didn't feel good. But I never realized that surrender could come in a spontaneous moment where you're just no longer clinging, you're no longer searching, you're no longer striving, you're not experiencing lack. And all of a sudden you just realize that you're in this incredible state of being that is so fulfilled and so satisfied without any evidence outside of me that would prove to the external world that this is why she's so happy. She's happy because she's got the thing, the man, the love, and I'm looking around me like my friends are having great success and I can celebrate them without feeling that tinge of envy and jealousy. And it's the absence of so much grief. It's the absence of so much insecurity and envy and suffering that I found myself in, was the absence of these things that were predominant in my life.
Well, this is beautiful, and I'm just trying to inspire and educate our listeners as to how we get to that place of
Mhm.
surrender, right? And then who do we surrender to? So you said it was a kind of a spontaneous moment for you where you were in gratitude, and all of a sudden decided to surrender and felt this peace and joy. So I'm just wondering what tools you could give our listeners who are feeling overwhelmed, feeling less than, feeling like they're not feeling joyful. Is there a way is there a process you use to get to that joy? Or did you just wake up one day with clarity? I guess that's where I'm going with it.
Yeah, both.
Okay.
So the clarity came because of that compounding effect, because I kept showing up. I kept raising the bar on who I was being for myself in every moment, who I was being in response to life. So before I would get so frustrated or so angry and so upset and so feeling so entitled and like, why isn't it working? Why isn't I'm doing everything right? Like you said at the beginning, I'm doing everything right. I'm checking off the boxes. I'm showing up. But in the moment when I was whining about it, I wasn't showing up. And it's like, we must show up for ourselves first and foremost. And I think that my journey was really about showing up for me. Who do I want to be for me in this moment when it doesn't look like it's working? When I feel lonely or I'm not invited to the birthday party that all of my previous friends and I used to be going to together,
Mhm.
and really showing up with compassion for myself and tuning into what my body was feeling and being with the sensations that my body was presenting. And instead of telling myself the story, the woe is me story, I started to just feel what I was feeling and let myself feel it. And then that started to create this awareness of how much power we have within us,
Mm.
around us, and how much our focus, when we direct it consciously, if we're focusing on the story, then the story becomes the reality. If I'm focusing on the sensation, then the sensation gets to be alchemized from this low, dense state this lower frequency into this dissipated state where then again I'm light, I'm free of it. I have been like the sun, and these emotions are like roaring clouds with thunder and lightning. And instead of avoiding that discomfort, I really decided, and I was taught to and committed to and applied the rules to go with the energy and be with it until it changes forms. And so it's really about learning what state of being you're in and
Yep.
knowing that you have the power to change that state.
Let's use that example that you just mentioned about not being invited to the birthday party anymore with all your friends. So that just triggered something in me. So I want to explore that a little bit further. So tell me how you would have maybe react to that before and how you're able to react to that now, because that's painful, right? So maybe can you just maybe give our listeners a sense of how that played out before?
Yeah. Before this transformation, I'll call it, I would look at the pictures. I would get angry at them. I would start to deprecate myself and start to look back at all the ways I messed it up. What was wrong with me? What did I do wrong? Why do I deserve this? I did this for them, or I did that for them, or I invited them to my party and I was so good to them. Like all the stories would just take me down, 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 down. And it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy because it was filled with deprecation, insignificance, not good enough, not worthy, and really feeling left out. And the pain was there. But before, I would contribute to the pain. I would add fuel to the flame of pain and then let it get so big and so gnarly and so consuming that it would just take me out. And then I would feel sorry for myself. And it could take days and weeks. And I would talk to other people about it and make them all wrong and talk about how terrible they are and that I didn't deserve this. And, to put it really frankly, I would identify as the victim, and that would give me no energy.
And now how would you respond differently?
Now I'm able to hold this polarity where I can love me and love them. And when I'm in that place, it's like this higher intelligence comes through and shows me the truth that I'm not able to see when I'm, under the proverbial blankets feeling sorry for myself. It's like I was able to see that our energy wasn't aligning anymore and that it wasn't personal, it was energy. And energy doesn't lie, it just changes states. And so when I was able to see that, it brought so much clarity, and I was able to love them and have respect for them and also take care of myself when the pain would arise in a way that was way more emotionally, spiritually, and intellectually mature.
Love that. That's just it's a great tool for people to have in their toolbox. Because we all
Absolutely.
feel that, especially with social media. You start seeing all this all these pictures posted on social media and you're not in them when before you were, right? And all of a
That was
sudden,
the case.
yeah, I'm going through something similar. That's why I'm glad this came up because yeah, I mean you go through and I know for right now, and I'll speak for myself, I'm evolving personally too, and I'm involved in a lot more, a lot different activities. And so I'm finding that the friend group is shifting a little bit. And part of it is the same. I was kind of that victim mentality of, wait a minute, how come I'm not being included anymore in this party? I've invited them and blah, blah, blah. The whole thing you just said resonated with me. Yeah, it's interesting. And I keep saying, I'm 59 years old. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I dealing with mean girls? Why am I, whatever it is, right? And I'm just like, this is something that it feels so high school, but then same, I was like shifting my mindset and just saying, it's okay. Like they can have their own thing. I'm moving forward with this thing and that's all good. I'm continuing to grow my circle and my sphere of influence, and that's not a bad thing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I thought the same thing that you were just saying too. And to be able to see it on social media is a whole new ballgame, right? So the
Yeah.
sting was there, but I didn't bypass the sting. I didn't justify the sting. I didn't try to explain away and make them completely wrong for it. And in doing that, it's like like one of my highest values is freedom. And so I was able to see, well, they have the freedom to choose who they want to spend time with. And and I don't have to make it mean anything about me derogatory that they don't want to spend time with me. And I don't have to make it mean anything about them in a derogatory way because they don't want to spend time with me. And I think the hardest thing that's coming through now is thinking about them talking about me. That was probably the hardest one, was thinking, "Oh, they're talking
Oh,
about me. I wonder what they're saying." And it was like, it doesn't matter.
right.
That's for them. That's for
Yeah.
them. And one of the things I had given up is gossiping. And that was a big thing for me because that's such a way that women, I don't want to be specific there, but that I've bonded with women in the past.
Well, and like Mel Robbins says, let them, right? So that's I kind of had to go back to that. Like, they're gonna say what they're gonna say. And what's the other saying that it's none of our business what people think about us, right?
It's not. And their perception of me doesn't make it a true perception necessarily. It's just the where they are and how they're perceiving me, how anyone is perceiving me. And I love this quote. I think it's Anais and Nin or something, or Anin Anais. And it's like, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. And when I heard that, it just was like, wow, that really tracks. That really makes sense to me. And it gave me so much freedom in these interpersonal things. It's never going to end. These things are going to happen outside of us. But once we start showing up in a way that allows us to see the truth, which which requires a commitment to seeing the truth. Like, I really want to see the truth. I want to see things accurately, because the more I do, the less I seem to suffer.
Well, but I also appreciate you saying, I mean, the sting is real. And so I think to also recognize and say, it hurts. And so I think that's okay. I mean, like I never felt like I didn't feel like I was a victim, because the truth is that it doesn't feel good to see that you're the one left out, especially where we have a large friend group. And so to now all of a sudden be the one that's on the outside of the group looking in, it does feel a little more than stings. I mean, for me, it was quite painful. So, but I don't again, I don't feel like I'm a victim, although it was said to me, why would you want to be with people that don't want to be with you? And I'm like, oh, ouch. All of a sudden, like we've been
Yeah.
for years and all of a sudden I'm getting that. Okay. But then after, you get some time to reflect, and I was like, thank you. You gave me a true gift there by being honest. And so now I can make choices from that place. So,
Absolutely. And I imagine you, like me, are on this trajectory for constant development and growth and transformation. And that is going to be a recipe for moving in and out of circles and in and out of different experiences by the nature of changing. And we're not going to resonate with the people that we used to resonate with, and they're not going to resonate with us.
right. And that's okay. My girlfriend called it. So, my girlfriend is very Christian, and she said, God is pruning people from my lives to make room
Mm.
for more deeper connections. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And here they come.
And here they
Welcome.
come. To God. We will thank you. All right, let's go on to the next question. Many high achieving leaders struggle to slow down or surrender. How do you help them recognize when their drive is out of harmony with their deeper desires?
Usually I can spot it by the way that they're speaking. And so I really invite them to look at how quickly they're going and how important it is to rest. Because if we don't have harmony now, the great success isn't going to just hand us harmony. So the sooner we can get into a rhythm that really is aligned with our truth, and we're working out when it's true and feels good to us to work out in a way that feels good to our body, and we're eating in a way that feels good for our body, and we're relating to people in a way that feels good to us. Like, all of these things need to become into practice as soon as possible, because when that success comes, it doesn't just hand you all the things that you think it's going to give you. Like, we all think, when I get here, then I'll have a perfect balanced life. And so I typically can hear the stories that they're telling themselves, the rushing ahead, the ways that they present. There's always a tell. And so when I see the tell, I invite them into the most present part of themselves. And I really encourage them to look at what they're striving for and what they think that's going to give them, and to realize that they can activate that and generate that experience within themselves. And the slower they go, the faster they get there, because the more present they are. And the more present they are, the more they're receiving what this moment has to offer them. Is preparing us for the next moment. So we can get caught in these traps, as most high achieving people do, where we think that it's in the production, it's in the going quickly, it's like a race to get there, so that then we can have peace and relaxation and joy and satisfaction and fulfillment. So I really notice where they're not experiencing that and then address it in the moment and teach them these tools and how they can create it now. And then the success becomes more of a byproduct of who you're being because you're actually magnetizing the things that you want when you're in alignment with your truth, when you're going slowly, when you're present, when you're conscious, awake, aware, and deliberately focusing on what it is you want to create instead of doing the rat race type of masculine like striving.
I love that. That's great. So let's talk about divine embodiment. For someone new to that idea, what does it look like in everyday life?
It's the moments, every moment is remembering like my feet, like what's beneath my feet? How am I feeling? What's the quality of my state of being right now? How much am I in autopilot? How much am I in the truth? How much am I engaging with a spiritual practice, whether that's reading scriptures or a book that's teaching you principles that are natural laws that support us when we obey them, like gravity, for example. And it's recalling myself back to myself over and over again. It's like meditation, but while you're living, while you're doing the dishes, while you're driving, it's just this awareness and being present with what is that highest source of energy, and call it God, and how we're relating to that, how we're communicating with it and receiving from it and letting it move through us in service to others. That's divine embodiment.
And being present, I find, is so difficult for a lot of people, right? Because we're always thinking, well, we're always ruminating on the past and planning for the future.
Mhm. Yeah. But we're completely missing the present, which is where I believe everything is.
I do too. I totally agree with you. So you use the phrase conscious creation. How does that differ from manifestation as most people understand it?
They're probably more alike than they are not, but it doesn't require any tricks or, we can use the tools if they help us and we believe in it. I really think that, like, if I believed that every time I wanted to manifest, I needed to hold this cup topper. And if I really believe that, then the power that I give this thing is going to be reciprocated to me. Right. And
Yeah.
so manifestation, a lot of times you need a symbol or something in order to manifest, where conscious creation is really the simplest form of just being in the energy you want to be in now, using your conscious awareness, being awake, not being on autopilot, slowing down and responding to life in the way you would if everything was working out for you. And this is where a lot of people will quit, because this is where it requires this inner strength, this devotion to not reacting to things that don't work, but noticing how you're responding to them. And I think one of the most powerful things that support us manifesting the experience we want to be having is being conscious and aware enough to recognize that you have a choice in the way that you respond to whatever's happening. And that's the ability to respond. So if
Mhm.
anyone wanted to really do this work, my biggest takeaway from today would be like, learn to have the ability to respond to your circumstances in a way that is allowing you to have the experience you want to be having without needing the outer circumstances to change. And then again, there's going
Wait,
to be a cue.
say that again because that was really profound. Say that again.
Okay. So having the ability to respond to your external circumstances
Yeah.
in a way that allows you to experience what you want to be experiencing without needing the external circumstances to change.
I love that. Yeah.
Because we are the cause and our life is the effect. And when
Hmm.
I was, for example, using the example of the friends, I was causing an effect because I was in so much turmoil about it. And it wasn't that, like, the pain, like you said, like, we have to feel it, right? It's there. So we don't want to reject pain. We want to deny pain. We want to learn how to be with it, how to move into it and actually allow ourselves to feel it and express it and change it. But when I was ruminating over it, I was causing more angst, more suffering, more anxiety, more hurt. So we can create more hurt than necessary when we're focusing on the hurt and making other people wrong. So I was letting the external circumstances be the cause and I was the effect of them. That's why I use the term victim, because it's upside down, it's backwards from what reality is. And
Yeah.
so if I'm focusing on what's working, if I'm focusing what I love, if I'm focusing on what I'm grateful for, if I'm focusing on what I have, then that's generating an energy within me. And that allows me to have the experience I want to be having before the external gives me evidence that I actually have it, because I can be happy with what I do have. If we're
Right.
not happy with what we have, what's to say we're going to be happy with what we have next?
No, I think that's a great example because now when I see those photos pop up, I can look at it and I'm like, okay, well, good for them. They had a great time. And next, I just scroll past it now. You know what I mean? I don't sit there and go, that this person was there and this person was there and I wasn't. So, so
Bravo.
I notice it and I let it go. I notice it and let it go. So, because you know what? you can't change it. And B, you're right. It was causing me more pain than it needed to. And they didn't
Yeah.
care. You know what I mean? It wasn't causing them any more pain. It was just me now going, all right, well, this is hurting longer and more than it probably should. And their intention isn't to hurt me. Their intention was to enjoy their time together. And I'm sure they didn't give it a second thought, right? So anyway,
And whether they did or not, you thinking about whether they did or not is going to give you an experience, right? So, yeah. And I mean, they may be, they may not be. And it's like you said earlier, it's not my business
well,
anymore. My
but
business is to take care of me.
exactly saying to be in my own place of peace. And that's what I told another friend. It's like, I want to surround myself with positive people and I want, positive energy in my life. And so if there's negative stuff coming at me, I'm going to push that away because it's not a whatever it is that their reason is for not including me, it's a story they're telling themselves about me, right? Which
Hmm.
I know is not true. So
Yeah.
I am not going to own that because I haven't done anything to deserve it, right? So I think once I got myself out of, let them have whatever story they need to have, it's more about them than it is about me, right?
Yeah. Well,
So that
yeah. And that is, and this whole thing is like us really taking impeccable care of ourselves and being the voice that's an ally and treating ourselves the way we want to be treated by others and giving ourselves the attention we want to be receiving from others. Like we becoming our own best ally is one of the most extraordinary experiences that we can have. And when we do that, we quell that inner critic, that inner critical voice that spins those stories and keeps us thinking that, those thoughts that we were having when we initially found out that our friends were having celebrations without us.
yeah, exactly. Well, I think a lot of women especially go through this at all stages of our life. So I don't think
It started in elementary school for me.
well,
I
men don't experience
remember.
it the same way. Really? Tell me about your
Yeah.
tell me what happened.
A group, there were 5 of us, and one of us was always out. And this was early days, like 2nd and 3rd grade. I remember it clearly, like we always wanted to be in and somebody was always out. And if I was out, I was so sad, but all I wanted to do was get back in. And then when I would get back in, I would be caught up in the same BS that they were doing when I was out. And it's just, it's drama. And I learned it at a very early age that, if I was out, then I was a loser. If I was in, I was winning with the people who were taking out the other person. And it just rotated. There was like 2 girls that were always in, though. Would you know it?
The ringleaders. My mom used to say to me though when I was little, she said, "You do not do well in groups of 3." And I'm
I
like,
remember
"It's
hearing that.
yeah, I'm like, it's really true. I am much better one-on-one. I tend to lose my voice a little bit and not my power, but I definitely lose my confidence when there's a third and I become
Mm,
very quiet. So
mm.
yeah, anyway, she's like,
It's
yeah,
good awareness.
you don't do well in threes. So sorry, honey. No threesomes. I'm unstable. I don't do well in threes. How do you guide clients to tune into their own energy and trust their intuition when making big life or business decisions?
Guide them into their innermost being so that they can have an experience of it. I think that once you experience it, I remember the first time I experienced it, it felt almost nauseating. Like, mm,
Mm,
it felt so foreign to me. And so it's great to have someone guide you into that space. And that might not be your experience with it, but that's how it was for me. And so I guide my clients into that innermost space so they can be aware of their heart beating and feel the inner workings of our physical body. There's so many sensations in there that we're not aware of unless we have a hunger pain or a stomach ache or a headache, when our body's really alarming us of something that we need. But there's
Yeah.
so many sensations and energetic movements. And when we can bring our focus into that, then we become more of a quiet observer. And then that quietness have like let go of some of the external things that take our attention, and so it teaches them how to pay attention with more focus. And then intuition becomes what's obvious to do. And so everybody hears it or experiences it different. It can be symbols, it can be sounds, it can just be a knowing.
Yeah.
And I really encourage them to play with it and get into a state of innocence and let it be childlike. A lot of fun games are like, creating a story and letting the other person add on to the story. So imagination is a great gateway into intuition. And then letting them make choices and seeing how they work out is a great way for them to see. So we put everything into practice, and it's very experiential too. What do you think? When you're not attached to the outcome, you're going to get a much higher intelligence. I take people into guided visualizations that allow them to see what they can see when they're not so egoically driven. And, we need to have this ego. It allows us to operate in this experience, but we can't grow dependent on it. So we really want to be able to access that higher mind that is connected to all that is. And so I think the best way to do that is to guide them into the depth and quiet and stillness within themselves so that they can trust that they're safe there. Because a lot of people, when they're doing this for the first time, it just feels so foreign. It's like an unusual and potentially uncomfortable place to be when you're used to just letting your mind race and go, 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 go.
Do you believe in fate, or do you think there's a divine plan?
I believe that there's no cut or dry or right or wrong. I think that there is a divine plan. And because we have access to divinity, I think we have a real influence on what we want to experience. And so if I'm here and my destination is here, I think the best thing that I have control over is how I experience the journey on the way to the destination. And so maybe the jury's still out for me on that one. I think that I know that there is a destination. I know that I believe that we did make our soul made this agreement with the creator of all that is, as the creator of all that is. And then we came into this experience to have an experience. And we forget everything we were told. And we are born into these families that teach us another way. And the hope is that we're going to remember. And the moment that we remember, I believe, is what is called an awakening or a spiritual awakening, whatever awakening it is. It's awakening from the sleep of this is the way it is. This is who you need to be. This is what you should do. And from that place, we have a lot of choices that we get to make, and we can make them from the small aspect of ourselves or the higher aspect of ourselves. And I think that's part of the journey, is learning the difference between the two and then deciding or coming to realize which one is getting you further and faster and easier with more joy and more fulfillment and more success. So that's the best way I would answer that question.
All right. So, do you use any manifesting tools? Like I do a vision board to help me,
Mhm.
very visual. So, it helps me to have it in front of me.
I do. I have used a vision board. In fact, I have a huge success around a vision board. I made it with a lot of words and pictures, and years later, I think it was like 7 years later, I found it. And I had a picture of Oprah. I had a picture of Eckhart Tolle on there. There was this picture of this crescent shaped island that I'd never been to. I didn't even know where it was. And there were other things on there. I wrote a book, and I looked at that island and I was like, oh my God, that's the island we went scuba diving on and around in Hawaii. And
Oh,
I
wow.
went to Super Soul Sunday out in Santa Monica, and that was her thing. And Eckhart Tolle was one of the guests. So yes, I
Oh,
believe in vision boards. And again, I think it's whatever we can get behind, whatever we feel connected to. If it doesn't work, don't keep trying it. Go with what works for you, because I think we all resonate with different ways. Like you said, I'm visual. So visual is going to work for you. Visual worked for me. And the most effective, efficient way that I manifest now is like imagining that it's happening right now and letting all of that energy generate in my body and feel it as if it's happening right now. I can do that through my mind because meditation really does help. It's focusing. Focus is such a powerful, it's one of the most powerful tools we have. So if you're focused on the vision board and it's generating something within you and exciting you, then it's going to work. Right. And the way I manifested the Mercedes from a Volkswagen was pretending I was driving it. And when I wanted my new car, I got up. I was getting like, okay, I want that car. So I got up and I pretended I pretended to be driving it.
Yeah.
And I'll write things as if they've already happened. And then they can, it makes you feel really good right now and
Yeah.
it puts you in a high frequency. And then I believe that we're putting out this radar, if you will, and it's interacting with all of that thinking stuff, that substance of all supply, and will become a match for it. So
I love
that's my greatest.
Well, I love that. And Joe, our friend Joe Gallagher, who was a former guest
Yes.
on the show, he, when he wrote his book, he was telling me that he actually went to a bookstore and put it on the shelf. I took a picture of it and I was like, that's brilliant. Like, I love
Yeah, it's
that.
that's a living vision board. And he put his tomato sauce in the Piggly Wiggly on the shelf. So
Yeah,
thank
I
you for
know.
reminding me about that because that's powerful.
It was
Like it's
so
not
fun.
just pasting and copying pictures, which is very powerful too, but it's like going in and giving yourself the real life experience.
I know. I was like, yeah, that is brilliant. I love the idea of that. I wrote a book too this year, but I have not gone to a bookstore yet, put on the shelf. And I'm like, I need to go do that just to see it there.
Well, let's
Not
do it. What's the name of your book?
It's the same as the podcast, Joy of the Hang. So it's all about, my book is about the importance of connection. I call it From Womb to Tomb. So how the arc of connection changes throughout our life. So yeah.
What a
Yeah.
visual that is. That encompasses it all.
So it's
Wow, I've
getting
never heard that. That's brilliant.
from womb to tomb because and I'll just briefly give you because obviously we're connected in the womb to our moms, right? So that's our first connection. So much happens inside the womb that people are not really aware of. That's so important just in the development of the fetus. So then your first entrance into the world is so shocking, right? I mean, you think about you're going from the safety of the womb to all of a sudden these bright lights and beeping machines in a hospital bed. And that's your first trauma really happens right there. And then it matters if you were C-section or if you were a natural child. So there's just all of these things that kind of go through. But connection is woven through our lives. And so our connection to our parents is first, or our caregivers. It may not be our parents biologically, right? Uh, so then you go through that, and it's all intergenerational connections. And it ends with, obviously, when you pass, and the connection lives on through your legacy and the people that you've touched during your life. And so it never ends. It just keeps moving and changes. Anyway, I was just really fascinated by it because I got a health and wellness certification 2 years ago and thought my work was going to be in teaching people how to eat better and be fit and healthy and all that. And I was really interested in biohacking specifically and longevity. And so I started doing my research on that, right? Started writing a book on that. And then as I was doing research on the blue zones and Dan Buettner's work, I was like, and of course I've been in that field for a while. And so I was like, there's something missing. It's not just about, we all know what we're supposed to eat, really. We all know that we're supposed to move, really. I mean, at this point, we all know, right? What fascinated me was this missing piece. And there are several components to longevity, but connection was huge. I mean, you think about the areas where people live the longest and they're all part of a larger community. And then, we had some experience with family members who were in AA and just a lot of different addictions. And so I was like, why does AA work? It's because it's a community, it's faith-based, there's accountability with other people who've struggled. It's hard to do it alone. It's hard to quit alone. Same with a successful sports team or any successful corporation. They're based on this collaboration of teams and connection. So I just started doing all this research and I just became very fascinated by it. So that's my passion.
I love it. I love it. And I can see that it's your passion by the way you light up when you're talking about it.
I just find it fascinating. I mean, so my daughter's a psychology major, or was, and I'm just fascinated by people and what makes them tick, right? So this whole research on the And it's not new. The theory of connection's not new, but I think we're in an age now where research shows we're more disconnected than ever, and isolation is an epidemic in our country. And to me, that again, that fascinates me because I mean, we're more connected than we've ever been with our
Yeah.
technology, right? I mean, you and I, you can be in South Carolina, I'm in Florida, we're connected, but yet we're missing that deeper sense of connection, which I know you're passionate about too.
Yeah, which is like, the vulnerability, the
Mm,
willingness to be seen, even when we're not, as society might metric be, succeeding or getting it right, for example.
mhm.
The ability to, I know, I hold women's circles, and that's a place where we go and we do active listening. And so we're looking at how we're feeling and what we're making it mean about whatever another person is sharing without interacting with them and asking them questions and telling them what you think it is. It's like just listening to a woman, whether she's struggling with something, whether it's her career or her relationship or her own personal identity, and then every other woman's just watching and listening and taking notes and learning from witnessing another's experience. And it's a very vulnerable, transparent, opportunity to like learn to trust yourself and your own responses to another woman's experience without needing to rescue her or save her or give her advice or, you know, keep her from feeling her discomfort.
Well,
And I
and that's
think,
great. I think, a lot of I'll say my husband in particular, I mean, he does, he wants to fix the problem. And I'll always say, "I don't want you to fix the problem. I just want
Mhm.
you to know that I just wanna know you've heard me, that whatever's going on for me, I'm heard, I'm seen," all that stuff, right? And you don't need to fix it, I'll figure it out on my own, but I need to process it with you, you know?
Mhm.
That
Yeah, it's
very
really powerful to have somebody you can speak to like that, that will hold the space for you. And imagine how
yeah.
much your intuition can come to a solution just by hearing yourself speak it to somebody that you love, that you trust, that you know has your best interest, that you can be completely authentic with.
Right, but they get frustrated that if it because they wanna rescue, right? Guys wanna rescue.
Yeah, it's a very productive feeling to be able to fix. I mean, I'm not going to lie, when I first got into the coaching business almost 2 decades ago, it was because I could solve problems. I could tell people what to do. People would ask me for advice and I could tell them what to do, and it would generally work out. So the big shift was being able to, become very intent as a listener and hold space and invite them to come to their own truth and their own wisdom, and to be able to learn how to trust that and not have to rely on an external source of any kind to come to their own realizations and take action and experience what that allows them to have.
I love that you said that, Jessica, because I've spent years in therapy, and let me tell you, there's so many times when I'm like, I wanna go in there and say, "Just tell me what to do."
Believe me, they tell me that all the time. I hear the same thing. Just tell me what to do. Yeah. And I'll go
Thank
do it. I'm a good listener. I'm a good student. I'll do exactly. And that's how we're raised, right? Mom and dad tell us what to do. So we're really good at that.
exactly. I'm not paying you to help me figure it out, like, I want you
But this is the thing, right? The thing is that no
yeah,
one can take that away from you. And that's where this idea of true fulfillment and success comes from. Like money can be taken away. We can
right.
lose it in the stock market. We can, I met a woman recently who, for the first time, and she was opening up, telling me like they had $400,000 in the bank, and in one foul swoop, it was gone, and it caused an identity crisis. And so when you learn how to do it on your own, it's a different kind of self-reliance. But it's more like that, like you were saying, like divine connection, because you're not relying on just what you know. You're relying on your ability to access the unknown and
Right.
who to be in the unknown. Instead of fearing it, you can have faith in it because of who you're being right now is informing who you can be right now, which is informing who you can be right now. And when
Mm,
you learn to be able to do that on your own, like no matter what happens, you've got that and it can't be taken away from you. And that's that inside out, is that like, wow. I remember when I didn't have that and how difficult it was to be in conflict and how difficult it was to um, you know, decide what to do in the face of somebody criticizing me or telling me the way I am and not having a strong sense of self. I believed them. And I started to not like myself through another person's eyes. But this kind of work really does build you up from the inside out. And yes, we want the answer, but There's something very empowering about being able to arrive to it through your own intuition and to be able to see that that is your power and
Yeah.
no one can take away your power and that that power empowers other people.
Well, and that's so important. And I think, especially I'll speak for myself. So I've been divorced as well and remarried. And I found that when I was going through my first divorce, I mean, we're late. We live under these labels, right? And so I'm going through I had met him when I was 20, I guess 20 years old, divorced mid 40s. So I'd been with him for most of my adult life and thought, okay, I don't know who I am when I'm not Larry's wife or I'm not, a full time mom. I was obviously had the kids part time, but, all these labels, I'm mother, I'm wife, whatever my job is at the time, And so it's like, okay, now I have this time to figure out who Sharon is again. And that, I think a lot of women can relate to that. Like I was so lost. I just remember thinking, like, I was no longer Sharon Reynolds, my given name, right? And so I had been Sharon Stark for more of my life than I was my maiden name. So it's like, okay, am I still that girl that I was born with? Am I this new person or am I somebody completely different? So there's that. Yeah, it was a beautiful journey, but it took me a few years to figure it out. Not gonna lie. It was
Yeah, it's like an archaeological dig. It's like, let me recover the pieces of me that I lost that I love about me.
yeah.
And let me see what I've picked up along the way and how to assimilate all of that. And also take in the new information that's coming in right now and right now and right now. Yeah. It's quite a journey. And how are you feeling on the other side of it?
You know, it's ever evolving. I don't think I'm ever completely done. I feel like, there's parts of me that likes who I am today. There's also parts of me, if I'm being honest, that I am like, I still need improvement in this area. And I'm going to continue to work on this part of me because sometimes we don't show up in the world the way we really want to show up in the world.
Hmm.
So I'm like, you know what? If I want to be authentically kind and supportive and all of those things. And so sometimes I'll catch myself reverting back to maybe some negative behaviors that I don't really like.
Hmm.
I just need to I'm trying to be, like you said, live more in awareness
Hmm.
of, what kind of energy do I want to put out into the world so that I can attract that back. Because and to be honest, like that's in my being. I want to be a positive person in society, right? Like I don't want to be putting negative energy there. So anyway, so I'm realizing that it's ever evolving, ever changing, but good. Yeah.
Yeah. And the things that you want to put out into the world are the very things that you can generate within yourself to experience within yourself. And then everybody else gets that because of by being in your presence, that spills out of you. It's like this cup, the contents of this cup is what's going to spill out into the world when it gets knocked over, right? So
Right.
who we're being with ourselves in every moment that we're aware really builds that up within us. And then it's natural. We don't have to try our effort to be positive when we have like practiced over and over being positive with ourselves, having that self affirming, validating, loving, supportive, loyal, respectful, honoring talk.
I love that. That's amazing. You use the word exquisite often. What does an exquisite life look like? And how can listeners begin to
Oh,
cultivate?
I think it's going to be up to each individual. For me, exquisite is I have always had a taste for the finer things in life, for the way things smell, the way things taste, the way things look, the way things feel, the way things sound. And so it's really curating your preferences, regardless of what your ego or other people might be telling you. So my idea of an exquisite life is the one that is curated according to your authenticity and not preventing yourself from having the things that you really want that bring you joy and satisfaction. So if there's anything, it's like the pruning you were talking about. And we've talked about it before we got on the call. It's like I was organizing today. And so my cabinets look more exquisite than ever. And I have an exquisite experience when I open them because I pruned out all the things that I haven't touched or used or don't like looking at or have no use for. And so that is what I would consider to be an exquisite life. Everything that I have right now, I love it. I experience it. Lights me up. It feels good. I sell it or give it away. Get rid of
I
it.
love That's that's easy for our listeners to do. Just clean out your cabinet.
Clean your cabinets, your closet, your car, every room in your house. You know, we are connecting. I heard this recently and I love it. And you were talking about vision boards, and someone suggested that your home is a vision board. And so you want to, put all the things that you love in your home, the colors that you love, the lighting that you love, the art that you love. And it doesn't have to happen overnight. I like the idea of collecting pieces over time, especially when I'm traveling. In the beginning of my life, I just wanted to fill the walls with everything from Marshalls and TJ Maxx. And then eventually I started replacing those pieces with original pieces of art, which has a different energy to it. And so, yeah, it's a very personal, but every one of you listening, you, Sharon, you're exquisite. And so you want your exquisite life to be a representation of what that means to you.
I love that. I love that. So finally, what brings you the most joy these days? What's your personal joy of the hang?
I love going to watch my son play basketball. That makes me so happy. And spending time with both my children at the same time is such an extraordinary experience for me. And seeing my clients light up and hearing their messages when they call me and share their wins and their own development and the absence of the things that they first were representing when they sat with me, that brings me so much joy. So it's those three things, and just having coffee in bed.
Oh, right? Oh my gosh, that's my coffee in the morning. A lot of joy. So what's the name of your
Yeah.
book?
My book is called The Art and Language of Love. It's how to really love yourself. And it's a book that takes you through a journey into the innermost parts of yourself. And I use all A letters. So each chapter starts with the letter A. And the
Okay.
first one is awareness. And then it ends with, I think, appreciation or assimilation. And so it takes you through the journey of those A letters so that you can acknowledge yourself, accept yourself, approve of yourself, and really learn how to be an incredible ally, your own best friend that will never leave you, hopefully.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to have to get a copy of it. Love that. Is it available on Amazon?
It is. It's available on Amazon. It'll soon be available in Barnes and Noble, and local to Charleston, South Carolina. People will be able to pick it up at quite a few local bookstores here by the beginning of next year.
That's awesome.
Being a romantic town.
We're going to do a speed round. You ready?
Okay, I am.
All right. A little joy of the hang speed round. First thing that comes to mind. Number one, morning ritual that instantly raises your vibration.
I've been reading A Course in Miracles. So the moment I wake up, I first connect with myself and acknowledge where I'm at. And then I get up and make my coffee and read my daily Course in Miracles. There's 365 lessons and I'm on 342.
Okay. You've almost made it through the whole year. Good job.
I know.
Well, that's going to go to number two, a book or teacher who's deeply influenced your spiritual journey.
Oh my goodness. Eckhart Tolle was my first spiritual teacher who really influenced my journey. And I would say the book that really just, if I could only depend on one, I think it would be this one, God Works Through Faith.
Okay. Great. I like that. A song that always gets you back into alignment.
It's Jerry Rafferty. I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's right down the line. It's been you, woman, right down the line. So I used to hear it when I was younger, and then I heard it as an adult probably 10 years ago, and it was as if it was me singing that song to me.
Oh, yay.
So listen to it again and hear it from yourself.
Okay, I will. Number four, if you could host a hang anywhere in the world, where would it be?
I would go to Italy because I've never been, and we would be in a vineyard eating lots and lots of pasta.
Okay. Have you tried Joe's sauce, by the way?
No, I haven't yet. I need to go hit a Piggly Wiggly and grab me a jar.
You need to order yourself or get down to Piggly Wiggly, because I ordered a jar and not gonna lie, best pasta sauce I've ever had.
And my son likes to have pasta at least once a week, so I need to get the next jar I will be Joe's.
You got to try Joe's because it was very good. A pastioli for those that are listening.
A pastioli.
A pastioli. Number five, last one. One word that describes the energy you want to live in for the rest of 2025.
Freedom.
That's your word.
Yeah. That is it. The frequency of freedom. It's so expansive.
I love that. Well, Jessica, thank you for such a soulful and grounded conversation. You've reminded us that true success isn't about achieving more. It's about aligning with who you already are. For our listeners, your joyful act this week is to pause and check your energy. Ask yourself, am I living in alignment with what I say I want? Because sometimes the next level of joy doesn't come from doing, it comes from allowing. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who could use a little more ease and embodiment in their life. And as always, follow Joy of the Hang on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, because joy, like energy, expands when we share it. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. What a joy to hang with you.